The Play's the Thing. With your host, Judy Sleed. Special guest, Paul Brennan, East End Regional Manager of Prudential Douglas Elliman. Now here is Judy.
Oh, thank you so much, Lee. And once again, this is Plays the Thing, and I have a gorgeous playmate. Paul Brennan, how are you?
Hi, Judy. Good to see you again.
It is.
I like the Judy.
Yes, it is. Sounds good. And we have a dentist next door. He's drilling somebody's teeth. And I'm just thinking about all the pain that person must go through with the drilling. So I'm so glad you came in. It was raining and you got all wet. But
it's pretty amazing out there today. We've been waiting for the summer to arrive, but not yet.
Not yet. It gave us a little taste of it a couple of weeks ago.
Yes, everybody got, including myself, was all ready to get the shorts out, but
Yes.
unfortunately, we still keep the winter coat on.
And the flowers started to bloom also. It's very, very interesting. Well, you are in real estate. How is the real estate business here in the Hamptons?
Well, since we've last met, obviously we've gone through that cycle of downward cycle back in, was it 2008, I guess, is when it all sort of hit the fan. And since that time, we've been recovering slowly. I don't think the Hamptons got hit quite as hard as the rest of the country, but and fortunately, interesting enough, I like down markets. I seem to do better in down markets than I do very, very active and appreciating markets. But I would say now that things have leveled off pretty well. The activity is pretty strong right at the moment, but you never can tell. We'll see what happens with Greece and France and Spain, and
How does that affect how many houses you sell here?
Well,
in the Hamptons?
how it affects it is the stock market. Believe it or not, the real estate market is still driven by Wall Street. So if Wall Street, I always like to say, if Wall Street sneezes, we catch the cold. And so if we're a little, that's up and down. Although Wall Street has been very good the past year, so, and consequently the real estate market's been good. So we run in tandem with Wall Street.
So of course it affects how people have money to buy houses.
Well, I think, interestingly enough, I think people have had money. It's not that the money's not been there.
Oh,
it's
really?
just that people have been reluctant to spend it. Because
I don't know what they're saving it for.
Exactly, that's what I keep asking them. But I guess once you've got it and it's sitting there, everybody's waiting for the right moment, or the perceived right moment to jump in when they think the market is.
You can't take it with you.
Well,
yeah.
for anything like my father, you certainly try.
So you're a regional manager. What does a regional manager do other than the normal real estate broker?
Well, regional manager, my job description, if you will, I oversee 8 offices from West Hampton out to Montauk. So within that range, there are 8 offices, and they're under my purview. I sort of have to watch out and try to keep them solvent and buoyant and happy and brokers in step, and we try to go in one positive direction.
Do you ever have a contest, like who could sell the most in a certain period?
They do have them. I don't subscribe too much to contests and things. You know, the interesting thing about real estate is that I often say that people who want to get involved in real estate, you know, you can make $1 million in a minute, and you can make $1 in a year, but you have to show up for both. So, you know, it takes time, it runs in cycles. You know, you work hard, and then all of a sudden you'll have a good run, and then you have to build up momentum again. So you know, so if you run a contest, it's within a specific period of time, so you never know who's hot and who's not during that period. So it's a little bit unfair.
Uh-huh. Well, I'm just talking about, you know, things I hear, read, and in the movies they have these things.
Exactly. Well,
but that's not
it's
real
in the
life.
movies.
Yes. So, but as a broker, and you have to be, like you said, there every day, and you have to drive people around, show houses all day.
Well, that's part of it. That's the actual boots on the ground aspect of it. But there's a lot of preparation involved. I mean, you have to get listings, you have to find listings, you have to research, you have to call people, you have to build relationships with people. So it's not just driving around in a car. If that's all it were, it would be not to say an easy job, but there's a lot that goes into being a broker.
So there's a lot to do at the desk.
Yes, or at the computer, or on your iPhone or BlackBerry or whatever. So
Right.
it's an all-consuming occupation if one lets it become that. You have to really limit yourself or learn to put boundaries around yourself so that you do have some personal time.
And you need to have a license. And in order to have a license, you have to go to school?
Yes. I'm happy and also a little bit embarrassed to say that I'm now in my 31st year, so I don't have to go to school anymore. I think it's over, if you're over 15 years or something, back when they put in the continuing education, so I fell into that category. So fortunately, all I have to take is an ethics class now and again.
Because I remember I took a class many years ago as an adult, and this was an awful like a new language.
Yeah.
I don't know if I ever graduated because I could not. It was hard enough to understand English, but this was a whole new language.
Yeah, there is a lot of legalese, but you know, you learn those terms and know those terms. They fit into certain concepts and certain parameters within the real estate business, but primarily it's about relationships with people.
Well, why do you need a license? Why can't you do it without a license?
That's a good question. That I'm not quite. Well, I guess they, from my perspective, with what little knowledge I have, they try to bring some professionalism into the field, and I assume that they figure that if they teach people the right aspects of real estate from a legal perspective and a relationship perspective and all those various elements that go into representing, because remember, you do have a fiduciary responsibility to your owner, the person you represent. So, you know, you're supposed to be making them the most money as you can, and so you have to understand what those parameters are in order to do it properly.
So you mean I just can't go into your office and say, okay, I have a few hours free. I wanted to sell a house or something.
You can sell your own house. But if you want somebody to sell your house or help you sell a house, then that person has to have a license.
Yeah, well, that's not what I meant. Suppose, you know, I just thought I could just go there for a few hours a day, and
Well, that's unfortunately what most people think, that they can go in for a
Yeah.
few hours a day.
you can't
Doesn't
do
work like that.
Well, that's what I was trying to point out. You can't do that. That's a full-time job.
It's a full-time job.
Right.
Because remember, you're representing people, and most of the properties out here are substantial, are high-priced, and you're one of the people that represent people of means, and a lot of times the houses or the real estate that people own are the largest asset that they have, or one of the largest assets. So you have to know what you're doing. You know, you can lose money for
And
people.
also, I think there's a lot of trust involved because they have the key to the houses, and sometimes no one's there.
That's true. That's the logistical part of it. But I think where trust really comes in is the ability for you to have the trust in me as your agent, that I'll do the best I can on your behalf. If you have that trust in me, then things go pretty smoothly, usually.
Did it ever happen that there was some theft
Oh,
involved?
sure. Oh, yeah. I mean, every year there's something that goes on.
Yeah.
Somebody will leave a alarm off, or a door open, or a window open, or or some other crazy stuff that goes on.
And is that the agent's responsibility or the owner?
Generally speaking, it's the agent. If the agent has the key and the agent is showing the house, but it's you have to prove it. That's the
Yeah.
But I would say, as in any business, you have the few bad apples.
Yes.
But generally speaking, I would say most agents try to be as professional as possible.
Now, judging by your name, Brennan, you are like an original. Your ancestors were farmers here in the Hamptons.
The Brennan side, the Irish side, came out in 1910, actually from Brooklyn. They had the biggest farm in Brooklyn at the time, and my grandfather, in the flatlands of Brooklyn, farmed a big farm, and then when the subway came around that time, they sold out and bought out in Bridgehampton. My mother's side goes way back.
Yeah.
My mother's side goes back to 16.
So you're a real native. Have you ever been out of the Hamptons?
Oh, sure. Well, they say, the Brennans, at least, they used to say it was pretty tough to get them over the canal, but no, I've been. In fact, after college, I lived over in Australia for a couple of years. Played basketball over there. So.
And do you have any hobbies now?
Well, my newest hobby is about an 8-week-old granddaughter.
Oh,
Yes.
really? Oh.
Yes, that's my newest hobby. So I'm kind of looking forward to taking care of her. My daughter lives in the city, so they come out on weekends. So I kind of look forward to that.
So you have a daughter and a son?
Son who lives in Utah.
Wow. What took him there?
Basketball, college. He went to the University of Utah and played basketball there, and wound up staying there. He works in Park City, which is yet another big luxury second home, resort market. So.
Is he in real estate also?
No, he's in the planning department up there.
The what?
Planning department.
Planning. So you all played sports just for fun, and you didn't stick with it as a profession.
Well, you got to be good to be a professional. I played in Australia professionally, if you will, but like every boy, the dream is to play in the NBA or to go the highest level possible. But it's it's pretty stiff competition out there. And but I'm very proud of. I look back now, and I'm very proud of I got a scholarship to college, athletic scholarship to college. And then after that, I was an All-American in college and then played a couple of years overseas. And interestingly enough, at that point, I made the decision. I could have stayed in Australia and, made a life in the basketball world there, not playing for too much longer, but, they have quite a professional league over there at the moment that's been built up over the years, so I could have been part of that, but I decided to hang it up.
Uh-huh. You were too scared.
Not too scared. I just, there comes a time when you have to realize your own limitations.
Mm-hmm.
At 24, I would have loved to have kept playing, but I figured it was time to come home and get into something that was going to make some real money, a career.
So how did you find this position, real estate?
Believe it or not, a guy named Alan Schneider, who is...
Oh, that's a big name
yeah,
in real estate.
Alan, God rest his soul, I knew Alan because he sold some of my father's land when I was young, so I knew him for years. And I wrote him when I was in Australia. I wrote to him and I said, Alan, what do you think? What's a good thing to do? And he said, well, if you're coming home, he said, go to work for me. So, that's how that started.
So that's good, and you made a success out of it. You climbed up the ladder, as they say, up the ladder.
Well, it's real estate has been good to me. It's obviously the area has changed significantly from the time when I grew up as a young man. But I've managed to put two kids through college, and have a house and whatever. Interesting enough, I consider myself very lucky because many local kids who grew up here are unable to afford to live here. So
That's true. And now you're going to put your granddaughter through college.
well, probably yes. I hope I'm around that long.
Oh, absolutely. I know you will. You're still young, sir. Yourself.
59.
You're a baby.
59 now.
And you're healthy. Yes, me too. Yeah. And you're vibrant and all that. You probably have heads turning around when you walk around.
No, I would say life's been pretty good. It's not been easy, but it's ultimately when you look back, I'm very pleased with how things have turned out.
Right. And so, what else do you pursue? You were involved in some theater some years ago.
No, Judy, I have given up most of any outside activities. I belong to a few boards. I'm on the Nature Conservancy Board. I think that's important. I think that conservation of particularly the Hamptons area is crucial for the health of the region. And I'm on the board of the Southampton Hospital.
Oh, really? I didn't know
Foundation
that.
board, yeah. So I help raise money for there. And I think Bob Chalner's done a great job of beginning to turn the hospital around into a terrific institution.
Yeah.
So
And
I spend a lot of time at those things. So there's not a
so
lot of time.
everything you do is useful for others.
At least on the outside. I mean,
Oh.
I'm sure people who I work with would probably say something different. But yes, I do try to.
No, that's
I do try to give
commendable
back,
that you
Well, again, I think the area changes so much. It has changed so much over the past 20, 30 years that, in order to be keep up with it, you have to be involved in it. And you have to know where the pulse is. And I think conservation certainly is. I think the hospital certainly is. Real estate obviously is.
And the environment.
Yeah, the environment I think is really crucial.
So I think you probably go to meetings a few times a week. That keeps you busy.
I try not to, but there's always a meeting somewhere, to go
Yeah,
to.
I look for things to do all the time, and I go to meetings, whatever there is, whatever. But I go more to arts and theater than these other stuff.
It's a wonderful building that they're putting up in Watermill.
Where?
On the right by the winery in Southampton.
Yeah, what's going to? It's a building for what?
The arts.
Oh, really?
Yes.
How come I didn't know that? I heard about the condo that's going up in Sag Harbor.
Oh yeah, that's been in the works for a while. The old building, the old Boulevard building.
Yes, and I really think it's going to bring a lot of business into Sag Harbor.
Well, yes, I happen to agree with you there, but I'm happy that they're finally doing something positive with that building rather than letting it sit there and
Was
sort of
rotting there?
crumbling. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. And it's always been a significant building within the confines of Sag Harbor, so it'll be nice to see it because Sag Harbor has, morphed into this incredible little village that everybody loves to go to. And the one blight of the village was this building that had been sitting
And now that the Bay Street Theater is going to stay there.
10 years.
Yes, so that's a good sign. And I'm just thinking that's going to be one booming little city, town,
Well,
whatever
it's fascinating because if you from a historic point of view, Sag Harbor was the place back in the 1860s.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah, that's when the whaling. Sag Harbor was almost New York City. It's just that the port was not deep enough.
Oh.
And because it was a very, very prosperous and world at the time, everybody from Port of Call, everybody came into Sag Harbor. So it was that's why it looks much more as a village, like a New England village, than any of the other villages out in the Hamptons.
You don't see any tall buildings there.
No, not specifically, but the fact that the houses are very close together.
Yes.
And they're very sort of very Nantucket-y or
Yeah, I drive there through many times, and I always said, this is going to be a booming time, and I see that they're working on that boulevard site.
Yeah, we're looking for a parking space, which you can't find.
Oh. Well, they're going to have to put up one of those parking buildings. Like they have things like that in Las Vegas where the space is small, so you go round, and go up there.
They'll, you're right. Sag Harbor will have to really, if they want to sustain itself, and it'll have to be, they'll have to figure out something with parking.
Parking, yes.
Because it's very confined.
It is. And even now, it's very hard to find parking there. Right.
Interesting enough, Europeans like Sag Harbor because of its sort of closeness and its center of town, and feels very, I guess, European to a lot of people. So.
Right. So what is your next, do you have like a house that you want to sell right now that you're working on?
Well, the house that I have, yes, if you're asking, I've got a few, but the one I'd love to sell is a wonderful house in Montauk on the ocean. Very, very modern, very contemporary, very retro, 19 sort of 50s looking, but but done to the nines. It's quite special. In fact, maybe too special because it takes a specific type of person to fall in love with it. But it's in a great setting on 4 acres, and it's a very special house.
Are the owners
1905.
still in there?
No, the owners actually don't live there.
Oh,
They live
I'm
up-
always curious who used to live there.
Well, unfortunately, it's a divorce situation, so
Oh.
they don't. Neither one lives there anymore.
Do you know them?
Yes,
And how long has it been on the market?
about 3 years, but it's now gotten down to a price where I think it makes a lot of sense.
Is it good for a family? Is it big enough for a family?
It's big enough for a family. It has there are 4 bedrooms in the main house and 3 bedrooms in the, guest house, and but it's quite. I don't know if you'd call it a family house. It's really a piece of art.
Piece of art. Well, I hope you sell it, and I hope some happy people will be happy with it. That's also what you're aiming for, to make people happy when you sell a house.
I hope so. It
So
makes me happy.
I want to be happy. Well, I'm so happy that you came to visit me, and I have to thank Lupita for doing my hair the way
It
I
looks
look.
wonderful, by the way.
Yes, and all my underwriters, and I have to have a list so I could, but the names come up afterwards. And we have to do this again, and you're going to tell me all new things.
I love you, and I love coming to talk to you, and it's a lot of fun. And I wish you much success with the show.
Thanks. I'm doing this since 2004, believe it or
know.
not. Almost 10 years.
God, you and Barbara Walters will
Yeah.
go down in history.
So let's drink to good health.
Good health. To a great summer.